Hey guys, so after editing the video, I realized that some of the clips are out of sync and I fixed it the best I could, but I just wanted to say that beforehand. I know the fix and I'll make sure to avoid that mistake in the future. So I just want to get that out of the way before you watch this video in case you were wondering why. Hey guys, welcome to episode 5 of my Discord.js bot development series. In this episode, like I mentioned previously, we're going to be using an event handler just like we use a command handler with the fs npm package. And if I go ahead and open up Visual Studio, I can show you what we did in the previous episode. So setting up an event handler works very similarly to setting up a command handler, because you're going to be creating a new events folder and you're going to be doing fsreadr, and it's going to read the events folder similar to how it reads the commands folder. So talking a little bit more about events here, you see client.on. And client.on is how an event emitter works. So actually I can leave information in the document in the description talking more about event emitters, my emitters, and how that works in node.js. But client.on basically is how an event will work in a Node application. So actually, listener void, and then it shows you kind of how this works. But this is kind of a short video because I'm not going to go too much into events. I am going to show you one event, which is the guild member add event, and I'm going to show that in a welcome channel. But later down the road, when I talk about more commands, implement more stuff like logging, that's when we'll really get into talking about events. But to pull up the documentation on Discord.js, I can show you again the different commands that you can use via the client class in the documentation. So this is a client class that we talked about at the beginning of the series, and here's all the different events you can use. So this is a guild member add. It takes one parameter, which is member, and the type is a guild member, which we actually looked at too. But we're not going to go over this just yet, but I'm going to show you how to set up the guild member add event. So all you have to do is create a new folder in your bot project called events. And we're going to do the same thing here. Actually, I'm just going to put this here. Readr events. And kind of the same way we set up the commands, you can just look right below this code here, but you can see what's going on. If error, return console.error. Then again, we're in the for each, and in each element in the array is going to be file. And we want to make sure we again ignore any files that ends with .js. This will be a string. Then you're going to make a make a new variable, const event evt, and that's going to be the file. So we're going to use require, and it's going to require each file, just like that. Then we need the name of the event. So we're going to use let this time, and then that's going to be file.split. So like I explained previously, and I'll just briefly explain again, file.split splits the file where there's a period. So the file name is going to be ready.js, it splits it, ready then JS, then 0 it will remove JS. So it's just ready, the name of the event. Similar to how we did here in commands. Then and go ahead and console.log when each event is loaded. We're going to just do an event EVT name, because if we just do EVT, that's not going to properly work at all. Then, here in the for each, we can actually do client.on, name of the event, EVT name, and then we're going to bind the event null, then client. So null, the reason why this is null, because we don't know the name of the parameters yet. So whenever the bot starts, and if for reaches through any files, whether none exist or not, it's just going to say null, because it's not going to bind any parameters to the event just yet until you create a new one, and then just like the guild member add, you add those parameters, and that's when they'll fill that void. And you also have to make sure you put in client in every single event, so it uses client just like client.on message. So client.on, this looks exactly like how this will look. So this will be EVT name will be a string, just like this is a string message, and then this is the actual parameter. So null then client. So that's how you go ahead and set up so the bot can read the events folder. So we're going to add in 2 events here right now, and then we're going to load the bot up just to show you that everything is working. So we're going to add in ready.js and message.js. All you have to do here is do module.exports. Actually, let me do the client. Do module.exports equals client, and then add the function here. So this will be for the ready event. Excuse me. Next we have the message event, so we'll just do module.exports, and we're not running anything since in this case the event handler, it's binding the event name and the parameters of that event, which is null, whenever the bot starts. So that's why I don't have to do client.run, when in this case cmd.run, it runs in each message event. Then you're going to want to do, once you have module exports, you're going to put in parentheses client, the message, open close, add parentheses. Then go in here. Actually, so prefix doesn't exist here, and that's fine because I'm going to show you exactly what we can do. So I'm going to make this in its own file. I'm going to make a config.js file, not config.json, because I'm going to specifically use these properties. And this is actually something I've recently started doing in my bots, and I'm going to show you how I do it, instead of just defining these variables all over again and just moving in the module exports whatsoever. I mean, not the module exports, process.env, all that. So here in the bot folder, we're going to create a new file called config.js. So about the config.js file, I specifically make this file to help with organization purposes instead of putting all of the variables in the config object inside app.js. If you don't want to do how I did it, you can export that object as a module inside the app.js file. I'll put up a screenshot now of how that will work, and that's another option, but I just wanted to interject and say why I did that, because I just watched this again and didn't really specifically clarify. That's it. And it's also really good for scaling in the future because you can just pop new things in here and require in whatever file that you need. So I'm gonna just do module.exports. I'm actually just gonna not assign any name to it. The name is just gonna be the name of the file. And I'm going to require the environment variables in here. And I'm just going to copy and paste these values in. Then, over here in the message event, similar to how I showed you in the config.json file, we can just do const prefix equals require config. In the config.js. Then it'll get the prefix from here and it'll display that. So now since we have all the events set up, I'm actually going to comment this all out. And I am going to require the token in here. Const token equals require config.js. Actually, I might be able to do config here. I've seen that some places and it might automatically parse this as a JS file. So I'm actually just going to do config and test it out, but we will see. We have an error here somewhere. Oh. Alright. So I'm going to hit save all these files, and this is going to be the moment of truth if I broke anything. App.js line 55. Whoops. This is why you don't blindly copy and paste things, well, blindly comment out things, because I think I accidentally comment out the mmap. Yep, I did. Alright. So let's test to make sure my commands are working. Yes. So guys, that's a basic event handler. Hey guys, I'm back. I got cut off when I was last recording this episode, so there's been a little bit of a time jump, I guess you could say, between the last time I recorded this episode and now. And I haven't necessarily gotten back to finishing this episode, but I'm finishing it now. And I'm just going to end this episode off with showing you how to use one of the different Discord events. Discord.js events, and this event specifically is going to be guild member add. So this event is emitted whenever a user joins a guild, like I showed you earlier in the episode. So as we set up the different events that we use, like the message event and ready event, we're going to use the same format. So I'm going to create a new event here, and the name of the file is going to be the name of the event. So in this case is guild member add.js. And to set up the event, you will do module.exports. Then, it's actually been a minute since I kind of blanked out here for a second. Okay, so module.exports, and then we're going to do client, and then guild member. And then we'll finish off the module. So just like here in the events, we're passing through null, which is the name of the event, and client. So that's why you'll have client then member. So there's going to be a few things that you're going to have to check for here. So with this event, whenever a new member joins the guild, we're going to have that post to the user logs channel. So since we're doing that, we're going to have to find that channel. And we can actually do that through the client or a member getting the guild. In this case, I'm just going to have the member, since I want to make sure it's only posting new members into the user logs channel for that specific guild. So if we do member.guild, this will get the guild for that member. And then we're going to do that channels dot find. This will find the channel, and you'll pass through a function here. So you'll give the parameter, and I'm just going to call this parameter C for channel. And this is the actual channel object. So we're just going to have it get the name of the channel. You can also get the ID and pass through the ID. Actually, with the ID, you can just do channels.get and then put an ID. But we're just going to do the name, and the name we're looking for is user_logs. And then make sure you assign this. So I'm just going to call this user logs. And now you have the channel. So next, you can do an embed or message, but I'm just going to do a simple message. I'm going to talk more about embeds in the next episode, but here I'm just going to do a simple message. So whenever a new member joins, we're going to have it send a message in a channel. So here we'll get the channel, the not send. So this will send a message in that channel. And then here we're going to use template literals, and what we're going to say is member.user.tag. So member.user.tag is going to look like this. So this is the username, this is the discriminator. So you can also do member.user.username and member.user.discriminator, either way, but if you want to get that all together, you can just do member.user.tag. And then I'm going to say has joined, and then make it look nice. I'm just going to do member.guild. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to emit this event. So I'm going to make a new command here. And I'm going to call this new member module.exports or exports.run. So I'm going to pass through the client, message, and args, just like from the last episode of command handlers. And then I'm going to pass through exports.help so I can get the command name. New member. And then I'm just going to have this emit the event. So you can emit different events to kind of test and see how that event works. So just like you see here, well, this is through view, but it's similar. You just get the name of the event and then the arguments or parameters for that event. But so the name of the event here is just guild member add, and then we're going to do message.member, and this will emit the event for me. So here in the guild member, the member is going to be me since I'm the one running this command, emitting this event. So real quick, well, actually, I'm just going to see if I need to update my bot token or not. Node. I might need to update the bot token, so if I do, I'm just going to cut the video. I do. Okay, hold on, guys. Okay, guys, I have the bot token. Now, before I actually start with the bot, I do want to show you something real quick before we proceed. So, as you know, I am using env files with login the bot. So I actually learned this pretty recently. I'm using this in most of my bots now. But actually, you don't have to necessarily pass through the token, the variable for the token, if you're logging in the bot. With Discord.js, both in v11 and v12, it will automatically look for the client token that's saved in the .env file, and it will load that token from there. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and remove this first off. And then I'm going to require in .env so I can load that environment variable. And then I'm going to remove token entirely. And since I'm using v11 and Discord.js, I'm going to go ahead and change token, the client underscore token. And what Discord.js will do, it will automatically look for this in your env file and load it from there. Let me just make sure I have that copied correctly. So it's going to automatically look for this client underscore token and log in the bot that way. So we're going to go ahead and start with the bot. And valid token was provided. That's interesting. Okay guys, well I wasn't able to fix what I was trying to show you. I'm not exactly sure what was going on. But basically how that works is, and I'll even show you an example here, is you don't have to import in the token variable and such. Like I said, you can just do client.login. You don't have to put anything in between the parentheses, and then it'll automatically look for client underscore token in the loaded environment variable, and it will start up the bot from there. Again, I'm not sure what was going on, but I'm not going to get hung up on that too much. Anyways, the guild member add event has been loaded. So all I'm going to do now is just type in new member, and here in the user logs it says I have joined the server. So that's how to use a basic event, and you can really do the same thing with guild member leave. So what I'm going to do is just copy this, and instead of doing guild member add, I think it's guild member remove though. Guild member remove. So we're going to rename this, call this guild member remove.js. And then we'll just do has left. And one more thing, make sure this event's the remove. So we'll do new member again. And it's going to say that I left the guild instead. So that's how you can use basic events. And again, there's many different events that you can use. We'll use more events throughout the series, so you'll get to understand what I'm doing with these different events. But I also advise you to go ahead and mess around with these different events: guild member add, guild member remove, message delete, message update, the ready event, role create, role delete, and just mess around with those and see what you think of them. And again, I say this at the end of my videos, but if you do come across any issues or have any questions, you can join my Discord server, Nerd Cave Development. You can come on in here, come into this Discord bot help channel and ask, about any issues that you have, or if you're working on something new and want to get feedback or help on that, then you are free to come here and ask. But other than that, I am going to go ahead and wrap up this episode. And since I kind of got through kind of basics with like setting up a command handler, event handlers, and some of the other basic stuff in Discord.js, we're going to kind of like start actually building different commands and stuff like that. And next episode, I plan on using rich embeds and APIs like a REST API. And we're going to mess around with that a little bit. So Fortnite tracker, you might have seen around. Going to look at Genius APIs and get information for songs. There's different APIs, so you can become familiar how to interact with that. Hold on, the phone is ringing. Sorry about that, guys, but like I said, end it off here, and in the future episodes, we're going to talk more about rich embeds, using APIs, building moderation commands, coin systems and such, and really just using databases and Git. And I have a lot planned out for the future of this series, and you guys are going to learn a lot. I'm probably going to learn a lot more, so I really appreciate if you stay tuned. Anyways, take care, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.